I don't know. I'm just really nervous that I'm not gonna like it. Then he'll say like little things and I'm like, you definitely like her. Denial's a river in each head. Why am I in love with him? Let go. End of book 1. And end of my heart, because literally what are you talking about? Y'all, why am I nervous? Why am I scared? Also, I'm sorry if you can hear the rain in the background, but that is my favorite reading weather, hearing the rain trickling in the background. I'm keeping my window open, so hopefully you can't hear it too much, but if you do hear it, hopefully you also like it because I love it. So as you can see in my hands, I have the Hunger Games book. There's not that many pages. There's literally 368. Let me just preface this by saying I have obviously watched these movies. I don't really like, I wasn't like a huge like die-hard fan of even the movies, so I'm very nervous on whether or not I'm gonna even like these books. But I know that this is so many people's Roman Empire series. This one, I think it's like Divergent, Maze Runner, all of those. And let me tell you, that trifecta, Divergent, Maze Runner, and Hunger Games, those are my favorite movies I grew up watching. So I love all of that in that realm. And so you would think that I would like these books as well. From those 3 movie franchises that I absolutely adore and love, I probably re-watch this one the least. From all of the books that I read, all the fantasies that I read, the amount of times that I've heard, well, it has a lot of similarities to Hunger Games. Or, well, the author took a lot of inspiration from the Hunger Games. So because of that, I feel like I would like this book because this is the originator, obviously. But I also, like, just based upon, like, the movies, like, I don't, like, it's not like it's my favorite movies ever, but I also, maybe I just didn't connect to it because I wasn't, like, I didn't have this background knowledge of it. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just really nervous that I'm not gonna like it. And I posted on TikTok that I was gonna start this and so many people were like, you're literally gonna love it. You shouldn't say that to somebody if they're gonna start something you really like, because then you're giving them really high expectations. You should always give somebody low expectations because then they're gonna be very pleasantly surprised. Everybody was like, you'd be insane to not like it. And now I'm scared that I'm not gonna like it. So like, why would y'all do this to me, for real? The entire point of me picking this book up is because, for one, I thrifted it. I literally have an off day. In case you don't know, I am a student athlete. I'm in my last and final semester of college, thank God. I play college softball Division I at Tarleton State University. I was talking about it on my TikTok today and I was like, the last time I had this feeling, it's like this nostalgic feeling when it's really cold outside, it's raining, and I keep my window open to hear it, and it's like kind of dim lighting, gloomy, and I just have that visceral urge to read the Shatter Me series, because at the time when I very first read Shatter Me, that was my first series. So you know how like a lot of y'all's first series that y'all fell in love with and like it became your entire personality was Hunger Games? That was Shatter Me for me, and I didn't get into reading until like 4 years ago. That was the first series that I fell in love with and like completely immersed myself into it. Have this urge to just read Shatter Me because it reminds me of the same feeling I felt, because I had never felt anything like that for anything. And I actually grew up hating reading, so it's just kind of funny to see like how much I fell in love with it, like the amount of books I have in my room. But what's so beautiful almost is that like this is what that series for me is for y'all. And so that is like the whole point of this entire video, is because I really wanted to see what all of y'all's like Roman Empire status that y'all give this book, and like how much people literally like love this series, and how many authors after this was published like took inspiration from it. Like I just need to see what it's about. I didn't fall in love with the movies, so I just feel like I kind of am going into it really blind. Somebody did comment and say, you're gonna really hate that you didn't get that 3rd book. Oh, okay. I'm 30, well technically I'm 34 pages in. I've just now got to chapter 3, and why am I crying? Why did chapter 2 make me cry? I'm not joking, it literally made me cry. I had a tear running down my cheek. Oh my God. but I'm making the executive decision to make this a full spoiler vlog. I am also filming a reaction and review of this book on my TikTok, and that will be non-spoiler because I don't like putting spoilery things on TikTok where anybody in the world can see. I do feel like a lot of people have already read this, so I don't feel bad making this full spoiler. I really liked how when we got introduced just in the very beginning to who Katniss is, I just really enjoyed the way that it conveyed that she was an older sibling, oldest daughter. There's almost this like parental feel, especially as an older daughter myself, this parental feel that you oftentimes feel with your siblings and sometimes even with your parents. Just as it was going, I was like, why does this kind of feel like Shatter Me? And then I was like, wait, it's literally, they're both dystopian, so obviously they're gonna be kind of like similar to reality in a way. Dystopian is like essentially where it's like it's like a little different from reality, but it's something that could low-key happen to our real life, right? It has a lot of politics. It's like to an extreme, but it's like still with the same ideologies, structure, or just same kind of themes that we often see in real life. In the back of your head, you're like, this could literally happen if the government wanted to like take it that far. That's kind of the way I look at dystopian. I don't know if that's even right, but first of all, when the whole thing happened with like Prim, that it's this detail, the untucked blouse forming a ducktail, that brings me back to myself. It was just like a detail that stuck out to her because it just like showed her that like Prim is literally just 12 years old and she just had to help her with like keeping her shirt, like her blouse is tucked in, and as she was called up, she's walking up there and like it's back untucked, and it just like reminded her like, oh my gosh. And that's when she was like, Prim, like I volunteer, it's tribute, yada yada. We also get introduced to Haymitch and Effie. I'm pretty sure that like it's been said that like a Haymitch book is coming out this year. I don't know if that's actually true or not. I thought that was cool. I remember I liked Haymitch in the movies. I underlined this. It says, I stand there unmoving while they take part in the boldest form of dissent they can manage, silence, which says, we do not agree. We do not condone. All of this is wrong. Then something unexpected happens, and then it basically talks about the whole like that thing. And it said, it's an old and rarely used gesture of our district, occasionally seen at funerals. It means thanks. It means admiration. It means goodbye to someone you love. I just got the story of how they met and how he basically seen that she was starving and he burnt bread on purpose. He got smacked in the face, like he got punched or something. Obviously because during this time, like food is like very rare and like it's just like a delicacy at this point because everybody's like poor and starving. And he burnt this bread, and so like he gets hit in the face, and then he's like, they're like, go and feed it to the pigs. And so he runs out there, and that's where she's like hiding, and he throws her the bread. And then every time they go to school, he's like staring at her. She said, it didn't occur to me until the next morning that the boy might have burned the bread on purpose, might have dropped the loaves into the flames, knowing it meant being punished, and then delivered them to me. And then it says, to this day, I can never shake the connection between this boy, Peter Malark, and the bread that gave me hope, and the dandelion that reminded me that I was not doomed. And more than once, I have turned in the school hallway and caught his eyes trained on me, only to flit away. I feel like I owe him something, and I hate owing people. And I cried. I cried reading the backstory about how they met. Obviously, since this is a full spoiler, I'm gonna obviously keep y'all updated. But I'm not gonna do it like for every chapter or anything. Especially if I have a visceral reaction about me crying, I'm definitely gonna get on here and talk to y'all about it. But this is how much I've gotten done. So I am eating this book up. Who would have thunk? It just stopped when she's about to have a conversation with PETA on the rooftop the night before. There's so many things that like remind me of the movie, obviously, and as I'm like reading it, they've gotten everything movie to book wise like really, they did it really well. The only thing that I thought was really interesting that didn't happen in the movie but happened in this book was the girl, the redheaded girl, which we don't know her name, but she's an AVOX, I think is what they called it. Basically it's like somebody that rebelled or something like that, and they got their tongue. This is a girl that got her tongue cut out so she can't even speak, but she's like now a servant for the Capitol. Basically the backstory on that was that Katniss basically seen her as she was running, and the girl right before she got captured looked at Katniss for help, and Katniss just watched and didn't do anything. And so Katniss feels really like distraught and like guilty over the fact that she didn't do anything all those years ago, and she was with Gale at the time like when this happened. They both didn't do anything. Peeta just admitted to having a crush on her. And one thing about like movie to book that, like, I don't know if I was always so confused about this, because to me it seems like he's just like playing a game. I feel like in the movies it very well conveyed that he is very smart. Like, she played the game, but he played the game like mentally. Like, she played the game physically and he played the game mentally. And I feel like I'm seeing that more in this, but I don't know if like, I can't tell if like he's lying with those kinds of things or if he actually likes her. But I feel like that is likely what's gonna happen, is that he does actually like have a crush on her, but I don't really know. Then he'll say like little things and I'm like, you definitely like her. He's like, I can't do that because she came with me. And like everybody gasps and the audience is like, because he has a crush on Katniss, which is very smart. Like, that's a very smart move to make, but it's like, is that real or is it not? I don't know. Anyway, she's obviously very upset because she's like, you just made me look weak. Like, what? And then he's like, she's just she's just worried about her boyfriend, says Peeta gruffly. My cheeks burn again at the thought of Gale. I don't have a boyfriend. Whatever, says Peeta. But I bet he's smart enough to know a bluff when he sees it. Besides, you didn't say you loved me, so what does it matter? The words are sinking in, my anger fading. I'm torn now between thinking I've been used and thinking I've been given an edge. See, like, it's smart, and it's like whatever, like, he's very smart to do that, to like make the decision on like admitting his feelings, but it's like, is it real? Like, I can't even tell myself. But anyways, I have a crush on him, like, seriously, because the way that they describe him, it sounds so, I don't know, and he just seems so cute, and he like blushes. He says in the actual scene, sorry, I kind of went back, I'm going backwards right now, but he said, I don't think it's going to work out. Winning won't help my case, says Peeta. Why ever not, says Caesar, mystified. Peeta blushes beet red and stammers out, because she came here with me. And then it switches over to part 2 of the games. Like, what do you mean he blushed as he was talking about her? I would be in shambles, actually. Men blushing, that is so cute. And then another thing is, like, I really liked Cinna in the movies. Cinna in this, the way he's described sounds so hot. And like, Katniss thinks he's cute too, and I'm like, bro, I'm gonna stop comparing it to the movies as much, but just know, like, he sounds really hot in this, like, especially the way he talks to her. And I'm like, wow. He tells her to like just be herself, and I really liked that. I feel like that was really smart. Like, he says twirl for me. Oh yeah, I was in shock when I read Peeta has asked to be coached separately. But yeah, I'm on page 148 that night before, and they're about to have a conversation on the rooftop. It's like, is there cameras on them at the moment, like as they're doing these things? Because it has me, it just has me like second guessing, like, is Peeta literally doing all of these things and like being in specific places so that he looks good to society? Because like, I won't like that. Like, if there is actually a romance in this book, like if he was just using her, then that's gonna upset me. I think I told y'all I thrifted this, and I think it has a page missing or something. Like, this is what the beginning looks like for me, but look at it, it looks like something's like a page was taken out right there. But anyways, I have light gray for interesting plot points or even relatable plot points. Dark, like bluish, blackish tabs are Peeta. The yellow ones are when she's being a bad A word, because literally I feel like that's gonna happen a lot. Purple is for found family. I'm just like in shock at how immersed I got within just like the very beginning of this book. Like, I didn't want to put it down to make this update, but I was like, I probably should. I think it's interesting. I think her name is Madge, right? Wait, is it in the movie Madge is like an old woman that is with like Finnick, but it's the mayor's daughter? I'm assuming that's who gave her the pin, unless I like myths something, but that's what I took it as. I don't know. I feel like I'm like questioning everything. I thought that was interesting that the mayor's daughter was the one that to give her the Mockingjay pin, and that a Mockingjay is a mix between, what was it, Jabberjays and a mockingbird, I think, right? And it was like it's like a sign of rebellion because the Capitol, didn't the Capitol create like one of the birds? I don't know, it said something like that. And I also thought it was really interesting how she was talking about how like her dad would sing, right? She said her dad would, or maybe her dad would talk. I don't know if it was her dad would sing or her dad would talk and the birds would stop talking. I don't know if that has any significance. I don't remember what I last talked to you guys about. So yeah, I think I've realized too, like especially starting this and like just knowing like what my taste is, the deeper I get into my reading journey, the genre dystopian is really for me. Like I think I really like that genre, and I think I would really enjoy exploring into it a little bit more. So if anybody has any recommendations, definitely leave them below. Do not suggest Divergent because I already got the end of it spoiled and I know that it would make me mad. I was thinking about Maze Runner. I want to read Percy Jackson, but I think that's just fantasy. I don't think that's dystopian. And I have the Harry Potter books, but anyway, we don't need to get into all of that. But like Shatter Me is literally one of my favorite series ever. Like that is a comfort series. Like I know I could always go back to that series and like have the best time reading it. It's so beautiful and simple almost, but also like so real in the midst of this one. But oh my gosh, wait, I remember, wait, I forgot because I thrifted the two books. I have the first book and the second book in the series, and I thrifted them, and it literally has a sticky note from the last person that has this. Not just a sticky note, Roxy's bookmark with a cat and a heart, and I could tell by the way that this was written that it was a little kid that wrote this. And I'm not losing this. It's staying in here. Roxy, you will stay alive within this world for me. That actually brings up something kind of funny, which is so totally unrelated, but I just like to yap, as y'all know. Last night I DoorDashed something. I got up to my room and I was looking through it, and there were 3 pieces of paper in there, and I was like, what is this? I opened it up and it's 3 Bible verses. They were so good too. They hit real hard. I put them on my cork board that I got for my wall. Oh, it's so cute over there. The people that have a blurb on the front, wait, isn't that what it's called? Is it called a blurb? Stephen King, Stephanie Meyer, and John Green. That's how you know you made it, girl. Suzanne, that's how you know you made it, for real, for real. But anyways, I'm gonna lock in and just get this done. Cooking. We cannot help like sit here and think about how insane it is like that someone thought about this. When I put on my other social media, like on TikTok, that I was going to be reading this book, so many people were like, just so you know, like Suzanne Collins was the first to make a book like this. And it's just so insane to think about how like someone thought about this first. There's 3 books in the trilogy, I think, right? I couldn't tell you anything about the 3rd one, and I know I've seen it, but I have absolutely no recollection. As I was reading it, I was like, wow, this is like insanely accurate. Like I bet the lovers of this franchise and this like fandom were so happy with the way that the first movie turned out. Like I have the biggest soft spot for this character, for both of these characters actually, because I love Katniss. I'm so tired, I just want to finish the book at this point. because there's like 30 more pages. I just feel like I'm in the know a little bit with so many people, especially so many readers. Like I feel like this is such an essential book to a lot of people's reading experience that like it feels nice to kind of be in the know. Like I told y'all last night, I did indeed finish the Hunger Games, and honestly I have so much to say, and let's just go through it. All right. Oh my gosh, my hair looks insane. It's okay. You know what? We're authentic over here on this channel. But I wanted to go through a little bit of it, get down to the nitty gritty on some of my thoughts into it. We're deep. We're like, we started the games, okay? Literally immediately. 11 gone. 13 left to play, okay? Peeta was like shaking his head, and he was like, don't go. Don't go into the cornucopia and like get the bow. Like he like shook his head. And at first I was like, bro, like, is he literally like trying to like make her vulnerable? Like he doesn't care. With all that being said, I was so like flip-floppy on like, what's his motive? You know what I mean? But at first I was like, is he literally trying to play her right now? Like what's happening? And so she's like off on her own and like she's doing her thing. Like even whenever like he's not with her at the beginning of the games at all, like he literally ends up being with the careers, I think is what she calls them. It's like this group of like all like the aggressive people. I don't really know what careers means. Like I feel like, did I miss that in the book? I probably did. She says, I'm relieved Peeta's alive. I tell myself again that if I get killed, his winning will benefit my mother and Prim the most. This is what I tell myself to explain the conflicting emotions that arise when I think of Peeta. Like girl, like come on. Hearing about how just like bloodthirsty the career group is, it's not gruesome, but like I didn't expect for it to like really like because she really like puts it on the page. These kids were killing these other kids, which I'll get to, because like while I'm reading this I'm like, you know, I'm like, okay, it's like games, they're like gonna be like unaliving each other. In other fantasies when this would happen, it's like, oh, there's like fairies or like these like beings, right, that aren't necessarily human, are like fighting to the death, and it's like I don't think anything of it. In this it's like almost like I feel like I'm watching people that could be living in this world right now. Like even like in the beginning when it describes Panem as like the future of North America, I think that's literally what it says. It says, in the ruins of a place once known as North America lies the nation of Panem. So like knowing that, it's like I'm literally, I feel like I was watching my peers, and so it like hit harder because I was like, this could be happening like in real life, like as we know it, you know what I mean? Later on in the book is whenever I would like really realize like that like these are just kids like that are like put in this situation that's like really sad to think about, even though like some of them like kind of suck and they're like really bloodthirsty and like blah blah blah, but it's like this is how they grew up. Like do we really blame them? You know what I mean? Because this is all they know. It's like it's just sad to think about, but like I'll tell you when I get to that point. But anyways, I'm trying to take you along with me on my journey out, like because the careers are under her as she's in the tree, and she's an argument breaks out until one tribute silences the other. We're wasting time. I'll go finish her and let's move on. I almost fall out of the tree. The voice belongs to Peeta. Jaw on the floor, literally jaw on the floor. Like at this point I'm like, oh my gosh, like he's conspiring against my shoddy bae. Like that's sick and twisted. Like why would he do that? And then also like I feel like it was really interesting throughout the whole thing of like the birds like falling silent anytime like things would happen, or like giving a warning call. Like I just feel like she's so one with the birds. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's what I was feeling. At first I didn't know how to feel about Haymitch. I just like ended up falling in love with this man, but like she was just like getting so upset, right? This is the part that like it like kind of locked me into this book at this point, when like she's like struggling. She's like, why hasn't he sent me anything? Why isn't Haymitch like got all this stuff with my sponsors? Like why haven't I received anything? Because she's struggling at this point in the games. And it says, despite my anger, hatred, and suspicions, a small voice in the back of my head whispers an answer. Maybe he's sending you a message, it says. A message. Saying what? Then I know. There's only one good reason Haymitch could be withholding water from me, because he knows I've almost found it. I grit my teeth and pull myself to my feet. I literally put in the book, I was like, oh my gosh, girl, I just got chills. And it's like so insane too, like how in sync her and Haymitch are. Underlined this part, and I was like, it says, the attack is now over. The game makers don't want me dead. Not yet anyway. Everyone knows they could destroy us all within seconds of the opening gong. The real sport of the Hunger Games is watching the tributes to one another. Every so often they do kill a tribute just to remind the players that they can, but mostly they manipulate us into confronting one another face to face. And then I literally was like, sounds familiar. Sounds like our government. Not to get all real on y'all for a second, but insane. And then she meets Rue while she's in this tree, and Rue points to the hive, and bro, that was so clutch. And obviously she cuts down the hive, and like the beehive, the tracker jackers is what they're called, because they track whoever like disturbs them. She cuts it down and it hits them, and then obviously like I think she got stung 3 times by 3 tracker jackers, and then she's like kind of feeling woozy and whatever. She goes down there to get the bow and arrow from one of the bodies that died, and PETA gets there, and she's like in shock, because obviously like in her point of view she's like he's with them, like he's with the enemy, and he's like, what are you still doing here? Like, are you mad? Get up, run, blah blah blah. And so then Kato, the like enemy number 1, okay, like him and PETA get in a fight, because obviously PETA is like trying to save Katniss. He like remembers what her and Gale were talking about right before the reaping, and how like he was like, we can like leave right now. And then she says, and suddenly I'm not thinking of Gale, but of PETA. And PETA, he saved my life. And I literally was like, bro, we're not getting a love triangle, are we? I literally am like, I do not want a love triangle at all. It was kind of agitating me, like how like unaware and like not using common sense and like not denying her feelings, but just denying the obvious of like, he clearly likes you and like has feelings for you, and like, why are you acting dumb? That's something I despise in books, is like when they constantly deny their feelings and like seem so unaware, you know? And then her and Rue ally together. Don't get me started, girl. Y'all seen my reaction. And Rue is like explaining to her like how it is in District 11, which sounded like literally treacherous, like ew. Katniss is like telling her about how PETA saved her life, and she says if he did, it was all probably part of his act, you know, to make people think he's in love with me. And then it says, oh, says Rue thoughtfully, I didn't think that was an act. Real, like finally somebody with common sense, please. And then Rue talking about how like she loves music, like, and then like her talking about how like she's friends with the Mockingjay, and it just like really kind of hit me. They can be dangerous though if you get too near their nests, but you can't blame them for that. Literally sounds like Katniss. They can be dangerous though if you get too near their nest, but you can't blame them for that. Like, I feel like Katniss is never like just like attack you and like go on the offensive and like be bloodthirsty. Like that's not in her, but like, I'm gonna survive, so like I will defend myself. I feel like that's Katniss, you know what I mean? You can't blame somebody for defending themselves. Obviously she doesn't want to be a killer, but like she's put in this position, she will do it if she needs to. And then also like all the little things that we'd get about Foxface, which is this like little sly character in the games, I was literally like, especially like because she ends up dying obviously, but like she could have won. I literally was like, this girl's smart. Katniss like shooting the apples, which I remember from the movies, but like her shooting the apples to blow up the whole like thing, I literally was like, this smart girl. Oh yeah, and then when Rue passes away, I was sobbing, and I don't want to take it out. I feel like, Roxy, you shall always live in this, no matter where you are. I'm keeping your bookmarks safe, and I'm keeping your book safe, and it's gonna be well loved. I'm a collector, and so this will stay with me. Maybe it'll stay with my kids in the future. When Rue passes away, I feel like it was the turning point for Katniss. I feel like she changed in a way where it was like, instead of like just doing this so she could survive and like all of these things where it's like she felt like necessity. After Rue's death, it felt like she had something to prove. Like she was determined. She was like, I'm not gonna let Rue die for nothing, and like I'm going to like show everyone the injustice of like the political system that we're living in. Like I'm not gonna let this go to waste. And I feel like this was like the major turning point for her, because immediately after that she said, it's the Capitol I hate for doing this to all of us. Gale's voice in my head, his ravings against the Capitol no longer pointless, no longer to be ignored. Rue's death has forced me to confront my own fury against the cruelty, the injustice they've inflicted upon us. But here, even more strongly than at home, I feel my impotence. There's no way to take revenge on the Capitol, is there? Then I remember PETA's words on the roof. Only I keep wishing I could think of a way to show the Capitol they don't owe me, that I'm more than just a piece of in their games. And then District 11, like sending her that little thing, like it literally made my heart hurt. They say that the 2 people can win in the games instead of just 1, and she calls out PETA's name. Girl, I was like, you want your man. I was shipping them the whole time. And this is about so much more than just the romance, girl. But babe, I'm a hopeless romantic at heart, so you cannot blame me. I was sitting there like giggling, kicking my feet, and just you wait. We're about to get into it. But she says, no, I think, let them come. Let them come with their night vision glasses and their heavy branch-breaking bodies right into the range of my arrows. Katniss Everdeen, babe, you are my spirit animal and I want to be you. And then she finds Peeta. She like almost steps on him. And then he says, lean down a minute first. Need to tell you something. I lean over and put my good ear to his lips, which tickles, and as he hello, can I not talk? I lean over and put my good ear to his lips, which tickles as he whispers, remember, we're madly in love, so it's all right to kiss me anytime you feel like it. I jerk my head back but end up laughing. Thanks, I'll keep that in mind. And then he's like making her giggle, and that's when I was like, yeah, you definitely have feelings for him, because like I feel like she's such a determined, like nothing can break her stride, if that makes any sense. Like I feel like as an older sister myself, like I understand like the feel of like you feel like you need to be doing all this stuff for other people, and it's like there's never any time to slow down and just be. And I feel like with him, she can just be, and that's such like a rare thing to find. And I feel like that's exactly what's happening, is like every time like they are together, like their connection is so strong that like they just like they get each other, but like she can finally just have peace, if that makes any sense. Like she can finally smile and laugh. And then she like kisses him to like stop him from talking. Shook me to my core, actually. He dozes off again, but I kiss him awake, which seems to startle him. Then he smiles as if he'd be happy to lie there and gazing at me forever. And then says, he's great at this stuff. Katniss, please stop with, don't be delusional. He's not acting, babe. I think she's just in denial. Denial's a river in Egypt. Peeta, you were supposed to wake me after a couple of hours, I say. For what? Nothing's going on here, he says. Besides, I like watching you sleep. You don't scowl. Improves your look a lot. This, of course, brings on a scowl that makes him grin. I have such a soft spot for Peeta's character, which is very not on character with me. Like, when I tell you, I never like the sweet option, the golden retriever, soft boy, sweet character. I just never like connect or care as much. You know what I mean? But like with this story, like I care so much about Peeta. And like I didn't expect that at all. And she's like nervous about like if Gale is like upset about this kissing stuff with Peeta. And it's like, please, like why are you acting, Katniss, why are you acting like you care about his opinion all of a sudden? And then Thresh like unaliving Clove. I literally was like, oh my gosh. And when she's like screeching Cato's name, this was the moment where I realized like they're just kids. And it literally like made me sick to my stomach. I was like, these are literally kids like hurting each other because they have to, because the government is like putting them in this position. Obviously Thresh like turns to her and like he's like going to like, but then she's like talking to him about Rue. And then it says, conflicting emotions cross Thresh's face. He lowers the rock and points at me almost accusingly. Just this one time I let you go for the little girl. You and me were even then. No more owed. You understand? I nod, because I do understand about owing, about hating it. I understand that if Thresh wins, he'll have to go back and face a district that has already broken all the rules to thank me. And he's breaking rules to thank me too. And I understand that for the moment. Thresh is not going to smash it in my skull. And then he ends up passing away later, but it's just like, it's just so like, the whole thing is just so sad. And then she comes back and Peeta's there and he's like, let me just take care of you. And he says, don't die for me. You won't be doing me any favors, all right? Startled by his intensity, but recognize an excellent opportunity for getting food, so I try to keep up. Maybe I did it for myself, Peeta. Did you ever think of that? Maybe you aren't the only one who worries about what it would be like if I fumble. She's like, she cannot cope with her emotions. And he's like, if what, Katniss? He says softly. Why am I in love with him? No, because literally, why do I love him? And then she asked him about his crush that he has, and he like literally pours his heart out on his sleeve. Right when the song ended, I knew, just like your mother, I was a goner, Peeta says. Then for the next 11 years, I tried to work up the nerve to talk to you. I have never, ever, ever, ever cared about like childhood friends to lovers, or like any sort of like second chance, or like, not that it is that, but it's just like when two characters have history, like it's never really been my forte. Like I really never connected to that. He says, I remember everything about you. You're the one who wasn't paying attention. I am now. Well, I don't have much competition here. You don't have much competition anywhere, she says. But like, she only says that because Haymitch is in her ear saying to say it. I was so sad for Peeta the whole time. What do I care? I've got you to protect me now. He says, pulling me against him. Stop, I'm literally in love with him. I need everybody to know. And then Foxface like dies to the berries. Yeah, them and it's Kato's left. And he raises his fingers and he's like, he points to Kato's hand to like shoot the hand. And basically Kato ends up falling off. But like, I thought that was like such like a, I just feel like they're so in sync. Like they just get each other. And then Kato's just like basically like getting like torn up, but it like takes like long, like it's overnight into the next day, and he's still getting mauled by these like animals, like, and he hadn't died yet. And it says, I know where his mouth is, and I think the word he's trying to say is please. Pity, not vengeance, sends my arrow flying into his skull. Peeta pulls me back, bow in hand, quiver empty. She like him to like put him out of his misery, so he wasn't just sitting there like suffering. And it was just so sad. Like, and it's like Kato was like he's the biggest like butthole of the whole thing. And like, even then it's like, it like puts into perspective, like they're just kids. Like this boy is like sitting there like begging for his life, and it's just so sad. And then that's when the freaking stupid people come on the thing and they're like, oh well, actually we're only gonna accept one winner. And then Peeta was so ready to like die for her. Then they were about to eat the berries, and then they both win. Yeah. It was cool. I knew that was gonna happen, but. And then they get back, and like Haymitch is like yelling at everybody to like not like do surgery on Katniss. Now the Capitol's mad. She made them look bad because of the berry situation. So then she has to like make sure everything like goes to par, and like she plays up the romance, and like she was just so overcome with love that she couldn't live without him, kind of thing. Like play the highlights back. I don't think that happened in the movie, but like I thought that was insane, like to have to watch like people die all over again. And then they finally get their crown, since they were the victors. And this is where there's just one crown though, and you can hear the crowd's confusion. Whose head will it be placed on? Until President Snow gives it a twist and it separates in two halves. He places the first around Peeta's brow with a smile. He's still smiling when he settles the second on my head, but his eyes, just inches from mine, are as unforgiving as a snake's. That's when I know that even though both of us would have eaten the berries, I am to blame for having the idea. I'm the instigator. I'm the one to be punished. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for you. President Snow, I have been waiting for you. And then they're picking the flowers like on the way back home. That's basically when Peeta finds out about, you know, Katniss faking her feelings and faking everything in the games. And he says, so what you're saying is that the last few days, and then I guess back in the arena, that was just some strategy you two worked out? Not all of it, I say tightly, holding my flowers. Then how much? No, forget that. I guess the real question is, what's going to be left when we get home? He says, I don't know. The closer we get to District 12, the more confused I get. I say. He waits for further explanation, but none's forthcoming. Well, let me know when you work it out, he says, and the pain in his voice is palpable. And then the last thing it says, already the boy with the bread is slipping away from me. I take his hand, holding on tightly, preparing for the cameras and dreading the moment we will finally have to let go. End of book 1. And end of my heart, because literally, what are you talking about? So basically, like, everything except for the romance went good, and like, so now I just like feel like but like I'm such a hopeless romantic that like it's eating me alive. So get this, you know, obviously I've been transparent about like thrifting the book and all of that, girl, and I didn't care about it at the time. I got the large print edition because that's the only thing they had at the thrift, and so this is like the ugliest kind of book, and I just wish that I had the regular book, but I feel like it'll make it a little bit more special just because it's so different, and knowing somebody else had it that probably had bad eyesight, or maybe they were older and they needed the large print edition. But I feel like if I'm being completely and 100% honest, this is probably like a 4.5, 4.75. It's not, I did not get the 5-star feeling. Like if I'm just talking books and ratings, if I'm being completely honest, I did love this story, obviously, because a 4.5 to 4.75 is a very high rating. Really, really enjoy this book. Like, I do. And I really don't know how I'm gonna feel about the rest of the books. This one is so good that, like, I don't foresee the other ones being better than this book. But, like, who knows, you know, obviously. Maybe it'll be better now that, like, I'm into the plot and, like, I'm, like, building onto these characters that I already clearly love. Yeah, I just wanted to be honest about my rating. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to y'all and say that I gave this a 5-star just because that this is such, like, a legendary book, you know? I just didn't get the 5-star feeling, and that's really I literally can't even explain it other than the fact that I didn't get that feeling. And there's really not much that, like, I can complain about anything in this book other than her constantly denying feelings. Like, that was the only thing that, like, I was so frustrated about. Her having to put on a show for the cameras, but I understand that, like, she had to do that for survival. For the pre-games, Senna's advice to her was to be herself when it comes to the interview process, because she has stage fright. And then she gets on after these games and she's doing the interview and she's saying all these things about, like, I just couldn't live without him, and like I like felt like I finally had a chance to keep him, and it, like, that stuff, like, doesn't seem like it's fake. But, like, I really don't know. Maybe I'm just, like, because I don't know yet. But it's just, like, that kind of stuff, like, was just so frustrating, because I don't, like, that is, like, one of my biggest pet peeves, just me as a reader. Like, I hate when characters, like, constantly deny their feelings but then act a different way. That is, like, such a very big pet peeve of mine. It's, like, not being self-aware and, like, just, like, kind of, like, toying with us in a way of, like you're not doing anybody a favor by acting dumb, you know what I mean? Like, other than that, I loved everything about this. I absolutely loved it, and I'm trying to contemplate if I should read all of the books. I hope you enjoyed my reactions and my thoughts. I do have this book